By the time a survivor has spent extended hours drifting offshore, the most dangerous phase is rarely the storm. It's the decisions that come afterward. In the early stages of survival, the human body runs on urgency. Fear is sharp. Movements are purposeful. Energy is spent quickly but with clear intent. But as time stretches on, something more subtle begins to happen. Decision quality starts to degrade. Not all at once, and not always in obvious ways. At first, survivors simply begin to second-guess small choices. Should I stay with this debris? Should I try to swim toward that light? Did rescue already pass this area? Under normal conditions, the brain handles these questions efficiently. But in open water survival, several compounding stressors begin interfering with clear judgment. Dehydration, sleep deprivation, caloric deficit, prolonged stress hormone exposure. Together, these factors begin to slow cognitive processing in measurable ways. Reaction time lengthens. Risk assessment becomes less reliable. And perhaps most dangerously, false confidence can begin to creep in. Many documented offshore incidents show a similar pattern. Survivors endure the initial wreck. They stabilize during the first night. They push through the psychological dip of the second phase. But somewhere after that, they make a move they shouldn't have made. They abandon flotation too early. They attempt a swim that exceeds their remaining energy reserves. They separate from group survivors when staying clustered would have improved visibility. From the outside, these choices can look irrational. Inside the stressed human brain, they often feel completely justified in the moment. Because fatigue doesn't just weaken muscles, it distorts judgment. This is why professional maritime survival training emphasizes decision discipline almost as much as physical endurance. The ocean is patient. It does not need to overpower the body quickly. It only needs the survivor to make one poorly timed decision. One unnecessary swim. One moment of overconfidence. One misread distance on the horizon. And the survival margin begins to collapse. The individuals who endure the longest offshore survival events tend to follow a very different behavioral pattern. They reduce unnecessary movement. They maintain flotation whenever possible. They treat distance perception with extreme skepticism. And most importantly, they resist the powerful psychological urge to do something when waiting is actually the safer choice. Because in open water, action feels productive. But patience often keeps people alive longer. By this stage of survival, the ocean has usually stopped fighting the body directly. Instead, it's applying quiet pressure to the mind. And for many survivors, that pressure is where the real danger begins. Ocean patience. After hours in the water, a survivor might find themselves oscillating between fear and an exhausting sense of determination. They might cling to a piece of debris, aware of the fleeting energy they possess, yet grappling with the relentless tide of doubt that seeps in. Each moment stretches into eternity, and with every passing minute, the urgency that once propelled their actions begins to fade, replaced by a disquieting stillness. In that stillness, the ocean's vastness looms larger, whispering dangerously tempting thoughts of swimming toward phantom lights in the distance. The survivor's gaze drifts from the dark horizon to the shreds of debris, their mind racing through a maze of uncertainty. Should they remain attached to safety, or was it time to act, to seek out that distant glimmer? Every instinct screams to stay put, yet the urge to risk it all in search of hope pulls them in opposing directions. Here, decisions shimmer with false clarity. They see things not as they are, but as they wish them to be. Hours meld into a blur, and as hunger gnaws at their belly, so too does the relentless prompt to take action. Adrenaline flickers, sparking moments of irrational courage that deceive them into believing they can conquer the distance. But unseen chains of fatigue bind their limbs, whispering caution in a voice drowned out by desperation. Each choice weighs heavier than the last, slowly eroding the semblance of rational thought still clinging to their battered psyche. Every choice, small or significant, spirals with implications, creating a dissonance between instinct and intellect. The distant light, once a beacon of hope, becomes a mirage, leading thoughts toward a perilous venture. Should they let fear dictate their movements, or should they take the plunge, risking everything on a fleeting chance? This inner conflict morphs into a cacophony as overconfidence starts to rear its head, convincing them that survival hinges on action rather than patience. Yet, with every passing wave, lost time ferries away their strength, heightening the stakes of each decision made in haste. As fatigue seeps deeper, the lines between safety and danger blur, erasing sharp judgment and truth. They know the ocean is patient, waiting for them to falter, to leap too soon into uncertainty. The survivor's heart races as the reality of their situation deepens. Flashes of past choices replay in their mind, decisions made in the heat of panic that now echo with uncertainty. Clinging desperately to the fragment of debris, they grip harder, feeling the splintered wood dig into their palms. A distant roar of waves beckons with both promise and peril. The sound becomes a siren's call to take action, yet something in them falters. The urge to abandon their makeshift refuge competes with the instinct to hold on tighter, as the delicate balance between hope and despair hangs in the balance like a precarious thread. As the sun hangs low on the horizon, casting elongated shadows on the water, the survivor begins to question the reality of their surroundings. Is that light truly a beacon of safety, or merely a trick of the mind? Their body feels heavy, fatigue wrapping around them, but the flicker of hope is a tantalizing lure. Each moment becomes a weighty pause, a silent battle waged between the instinct to cling to survival and the desire to reach for the impossible. The ocean sings its haunting lullaby, urging yet dissuading, as the survivor fights against the tides of uncertainty. The ocean doesn't relent. It simply waits, watching the survivor wrestle with their thoughts. Each wave washes ashore remnants of courage while hinting at the fragility of existence. In this ever-shifting dynamic between survival and surrender, the survivor ultimately embraces an uncomfortable truth. To find safety, they must cultivate a steadfast patience amidst chaos.